Hi, everyone, and welcome to Ring Ready Live, the home of the owner handler, brought to you by Showsite Magazine. I'm Dan Sayers, here as always with Lee Whittier, the dog show mentor. And Lee and I want to welcome you back for episode 3 of Ring Ready Live. And before we get started, I just want to encourage all of you to leave us a comment. Let us know where you are contacting us from and what is your breed. And if you have any questions, Lee would be happy to answer it. And if we can't get to it today, we'll get to it tomorrow. And Lee, before we get started today, I understand that Dog Show Mentor has a public Facebook page for non-members. That sounds very interesting. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, Dan. And I'd like to thank Showsite for hosting us again today. I have a Facebook page for people who are not members, but who want to learn more, contribute in a positive way, connect with other positive and forward-thinking people. So if you'd like to join that Facebook group, just it's Dog Show Mentor Owner Handlers.
Thank you, Lee. That sounds very exciting. So before we get to today's main question, there were several questions that came through last week that we did not have time to get to. So I'd like to discuss those with you if I can. And the first question from last week was from Matthew. He has a miniature American Shepherd, and he was asking the Dog Show Mentor for one solid pro tip. What do you have for Matthew?
Right. And thanks, Matthew, for that question. One solid pro tip. Well, I'm going to give you actually 3 solid pro tips. First of all, bring a clean dog to the judge. Wash your dog a day or 2 before the show, depending on your dog's coat, your breed, and your color. Secondly, get there early and be prepared for the unexpected. So be prepared for anything that might happen. That's what the pros do. And third of all, watch others with more experience and learn from them.
Those are 3 solid pieces of advice, Lee. Thanks. I especially like be prepared for anything. That's definitely a good mantra in life, but also one that can really save you at a dog show. So
let me give you an example of that. I was at Apple Valley last weekend, and the grounds were first time used by the show committee, and they were wonderful grounds. But the grass was a little bumpy. And so people who didn't have a proper trolley ended up having their crates and their equipment dumped off their trolleys as they tried to get to their rings. So if you're prepared, you can have a trolley that you know is solid and you can keep your dogs on it safely.
Very good advice. We have another question for you, Lee. It's from Angela, and she wants to know what's the best way to stand out with all the pros in the ring as an owner handler?
You know, that's a question that we talk about a lot at Dog Show Mentor and that I hear a lot. You've got to think like a pro, act like a pro, and have your dog trained like a pro. And when you do that, not only will you fit in, but you'll stand out. And the key is not to stand out like an owner handler, but to raise your bar, not only to meet the pros, but to exceed the pros. So because when you raise the bar, they raise their bar, and so on. And so what I've seen is people who have been in my program and really work hard. People who really work hard find that they can actually change the whole tenor in their ring. So say you're in the English setter ring. And maybe you're decided that you really wanted to raise your bar on your dog and on your presentation. What I've seen is when they do that, the pros then go, oh my gosh, where did that person come from? And then they realize that they have to work harder and up their game. So I like to see that scenario.
That's a fascinating observation, and that certainly does seem to occur. Have you noticed that that's specific to some breeds? You know, it seems to me that some breeds, the level of presentation, professional owner handler, it's very, very high. And do you think that that's the case because what you just described has already taken place?
Yes, because when there's competition, people work harder.
Mm-hmm.
So say you're in a low entry breed and you don't have any competition at the breed level to get to the group. Now, some people approach that and bring it on. They realize that that's their opportunity. It's their runway to the group. It's their opportunity to show the judge, look, I want you to look for my dog in the group.
Mm-hmm.
This is how good he is. It's not like, oh, I'll half groom him for the breed ring because I don't have competition. So there are a bunch of different ways that this raising the bar makes a difference. And when you start having more competition, then you can work harder.
I love that. Even if you're the only entry in your breed, you can still raise the bar.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Because then you get to the group and the judge is thinking, wow, I had that nice, donut dog. And so I'm going to, where is that in the group? What does it look like now?
Yeah. That's wonderful to keep in mind for everyone.
Yeah. Thanks for that question, Angela.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. And we have another question for you, Lee, from last week. This was Sharon, who has a question that I think is interesting, whether you have a large breed or a small breed. But Sharon wants to know, Lee, how do you handle a situation where you are being run up on in the ring?
Oh, I love that question. And I get that one a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to show Rottweilers. And as I've said before, and I was in a situation where I was one of very few women in the ring, and I was a rather petite woman showing large dogs. And I think some people made some assumptions about me and what I was bringing. What are you bringing? So if you're bringing it, you're going to be setting and you're really going and you're showing your dog week in and week out and really developing that rapport with your fellow exhibitors and with your dog and your relationship with the community at large. Now you bring that into the ring and you create a presence for yourself. And so sometimes that presence is tested by some people and other people are careless. So I would first assume that the other person is careless and very kindly ask them, please give me a little more room before you start and see what happens. And if they don't pay attention to that, then you have to raise the bar on your expectation and on how you ask that question in a very polite and professional way. Consider that you are a professional speaking to another professional when those kind of things happen, and you will keep yourself insulated from any unwanted reaction from other people. But the main thing is you have to proof your dog. You want to make sure that your dog does not care if some other dog is up their butt, that you have trained your dog so well that that won't be a problem. So be kind, be professional, and proof your dog. There you go.
Those are three excellent pieces of advice for something that can occur in any ring at any time. And I'm going to take that to heart as well, Lee. Very, very good advice. Thanks.
It happens to all of us.
It
and,
does.
That's most of the time it's just someone being careless.
Right. Sometimes, you're going around and you're watching your dog, and before you know it, you're about to hit the person in front of you who's already going around. Call it thoughtless or careless. It's an accident waiting to happen. And I think if you're prepared for how you will interact with the other handlers, should that happen, it's going to do well. And as you said, which I loved, if your dog has been proved for those eventualities, he or she is no worse for wear when that does happen.
Right. Train, what is it? The obedience people say, train, don't complain.
I'm not an obedience person, but I love that. Yeah, train, don't complain. We should all practice that in the confirmation ring as well. Those are great questions. I want to thank Matthew, Angela, and Sharon for those, and for answers to these and other similar questions. I want to invite everyone to join Dog Show Mentor at the Dog Show Mentor Facebook page. And Lee, could you give us that information again for the Facebook page?
Yeah, it's a Dog Show Mentor Owner Handlers.
That's easy enough to remember. Yeah. Show Mentor Owner Handlers. Perfect. Lee, let's get to today's question that I have for you, and that is, how important is it for the owner handler to establish specific goals? And I know we touched on this earlier in the last 2 episodes, but I thought that maybe you could speak again to the importance of establishing specific goals.
Well, Dan, in life, right? In life, we start out having specific goals. We want to maybe join a sports team, or maybe we want to finish high school or finish college or get a master's, or whatever our goals are. We start them and we keep progressing, right? We keep, I want to do this, and I have a goal for that. So for one thing, we are used to doing it, but under the radar. We don't really think about it naturally, other than think about it behind the scenes in our minds. A lot of people, and I would say most people, but a lot of people don't think about, my goal is X. Here's how I want to get there. And here's the next goal after that. So being very specific and descriptive on what your goals are is what's going to get you to the next one. When we talk about goals at Dog Show Mentor, we talk about reaching goals and having the action steps to get there. And to do that, you have to break each goal down into the pieces of the most important parts to get there. If you're not doing if that specific thing you're doing today does not support that goal, then it's wasted time. So an example is, I want to get on Facebook and talk to all my friends and see who's going to the dog show. Well, if the reason that you're doing that is to make sure that you have assistance or help, or make sure that you meet up with somebody who can do a video for you, being very specific about that action to meet that specific goal, that's the criteria that you want to come to. Does that make sense, Dan?
It does. And, I think a lot of people, Lee, often think that a dream is a goal, that they are the same thing. And I was thinking about dreams as you were describing first the goal before the next goal and each subsequent goal, and then those action steps. A lot of us think, I dream one day of, winning my national specialty or taking my dog to an all breed best. That's a great dream, but a dream and a goal are not the same thing. Do I have that right? Would you say?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So a dream is a goal without action steps. It's just a dream, right?
Right.
So I encourage people to write their goals down, to take time every day to look at them and think about what they can do to make that happen. What action can they take? So if your dream is to win the breed at the garden, what are the action steps that you have to take? And what are the incremental goals before that you have to meet in order to make that happen? Well, for example, one of the incremental goals you have to meet is either be in the top 5 so that you can have an automatic invitation, or set up a system to make sure that your entry has the greatest chance of getting in. So first of all, you have to get there.
Yes.
And what are the goals that you have to do to get there? Well, maybe one of your goals is, I know that I need to win 100 best of breed. And those 100 will get me enough to get in the top 5. Well, how am I going to get the 100 best of breed? And so on. It's really a fun process, and I like to make goal setting fun for people, and we talk about it. Some people are specific and talk about what their exact goal is, and other people are very general. But I do group setting on a regular basis in our group because it helps people really take the time to sit down and chunk down what they have to do.
That's wonderful, Lee. And if any of our viewers today are planning to go to Westminster this year, or perhaps your goal is for next year, I think that Lee just offered you some very good advice how you can strategize in terms of taking your dream and creating goals that will help you to make that dream a reality by setting those goals. And that once again is great advice. Lee, you're just filled with wonderful, very specific advice. And I think that that's sometimes we don't know that what we need are specifics. We usually have friends, we usually have people who are supportive and say, you can do it. But it really takes that mentor, that coach that we've been speaking about, to sort of help you strategize to realize your goal, whatever that may be.
Well, and of course, goals always depend on the level that you're at. I mean, when people come into the program, I want to know what their goals are. And a lot of times they'll say, I want to finish my dog. And there's no timeline on it. There's no idea about, I want to do it by the end of January. I want to do it in 6 shows. It's almost always very general when people first come in. And then we tease that out, and we dive in and say, what really are your goals and how can I help you achieve those? The sense of accomplishment that people have, whether it's winning their first ribbon, winning their first breed, or achieving other goals for specific dogs. I encourage people to always set goals for each dog that you're showing. Break everything down so that you have the greatest chance of achieving them. And it's fun.
It's fun. It sure is. Do people ever change their goals? So let's say they think that their goal is this, A, but then after becoming a member and working with you, they realize, hey, I have goal B, C, and D as well. Do you see that happens, that you help them to figure out their goals?
Well, yeah, and 95% of the time, people's goals change.
Mm.
So at first it's, I want to finish this dog, and then it's, well, I want to get another dog, and that one I want to be good enough to achieve even higher goals.
Mm.
So that is it. 95% of the time they change and morph and grow, and that's also really fun because we grow as our goals grow.
You mentioned a moment ago the group conversations you have for members of Dog Show Mentor. That sounds really helpful, especially in this time of COVID, where a lot of people maybe haven't been to as many shows or any shows in quite a while, and are really missing that sense of community, to be able to bounce ideas off of, to be able to kind of share goals. Is there a goal sharing that happens in those group settings? I put you on the spot there.
Well, no, I'm trying to identify the question a little bit more clearly. So the group is set up so that everybody has an opportunity to speak, and how people use that time, as long as it's on topic and excuse me, forward thinking and positive, they have time. And other people who are in the group at the time may offer their experiences, not so much advice, but what their experience of a situation is. And that's often helpful and interesting and dynamic. And so I like to think that our group has a phenomenal dynamic to support and help each other, and in that we all, again, grow in our goals and in our thinking. And it raises our competitive juices.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I get another exhibitor who has a different breed or same breed as somebody else, suddenly the dynamic changes and we have even more competitive spirit and gets our competitive juices flowing. So yes, I think that answered your question.
You definitely did, and you have me excited about attending the next dog show and getting my competitive juices flowing. Hopefully we're doing that for everyone here today. And I know that that will happen for members of Dog Show Mentor. And again, Lee, for non-members, how can they get in touch with you? What is that Facebook location?
It's called Dog Show Mentor Owner Handlers.
There you go. So Lee would be happy to have you join that Facebook page and join that community. And for those of us here at Ring Ready, you can reach out to us with any questions, comments about each of the episodes of Ring Ready Live. You can reach us at ringready@showsitemagazine.com. And Lee, before I forget, last week you were talking about Dog Show Mentor and Blue Ribbon Blueprint. I just wanted to give that a plug again. If there's anything, if we have people listening today who didn't attend last week's episode, I don't know if you have just a moment.
Yeah, so they can get a copy of my Blue Ribbon Blueprint, which is a 3-part dynamic roadmap for how to win more in the ring. The dog, the judge, and you. It's really simple, and yet it's very deep. We dive down deeply into those each of those components, and I'll be having a Blue Ribbon Blueprint seminar this spring. So look out for that, and I'll announce that on my Facebook page and on the Dog Show Mentor Owner Handlers Facebook page. And please put your questions in the chat because I think we have time for 1 or 2 before we end today.
That's great. Let me see here if there's a question for you. Let's see, from A. Lynn, her question is, and again, I think maybe you have spoken to this previously, but from which level of mentorship is it best to start, Lee? And I think that maybe that may depend on where you are when you become a member with Dog Show Mentor. Would that be true?
No, actually it's not. Dog Show Mentor is set up so that you can enter at any level where you are and go into each of the three programs. So if you really want to dive in and dive in deeply, you can dive into the VIP and you'll get secret weapon sessions and you'll get access to every webinar that I've ever created. If you want to come in and have almost everything I've created and get secret weapon sessions on the side, not included, go in the premium. So if you're a brand new beginner, you can do either. How committed are you? What do you want to bring when you come? If you're an advanced owner handler, you could still come into the essential level, which is more for somebody who doesn't have as much time and doesn't want to sort of eat up and absorb all that, all those hundreds of webinars that I've done. Maybe you don't have time for it. Maybe you just don't know if you're that interested. I think that most people come in at the other levels because they want access to everything at when they want it. And I think that's what people want today is I want it when I want it. So you can be any level of handler and still get as much as you bring to the program, you'll get out of it at any level.
At any level. Great. Well, thank you, Lee, for clarifying that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that is a question I get a lot too.
Great. Well,
thanks, Aileen.
Thank you all for tuning in. Lee, thank you for teaming up with ShowSite and helping us to create Ring Ready and Ring Ready Live. April is Owner Handler Month here at ShowSite, and we are thrilled to be teamed up with you and thrilled to be able to bring these conversations worldwide to the owner handlers. So please, if you are listening, get in touch with us. Let us know what you thought of this week's show. Please leave us questions. We will get to those next week. And until then, continue having fun with your dogs.
See you in the winner circle.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.